And let's just spell it out for you. Echoplex. We gotta listen to some fucking dumb ass people.
So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Piss-drunk fraternity guy, you got my ass full of bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to the side to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Oh, I just can't understand it. Conquered divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish Mr. Whitebeater, you're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with the penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. She lives in a pool of blood and crying. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cats ready to gag. Oh, I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public benefit. Put a body by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. So let the fucking spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do this show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media, simulcasting to other places that don't really matter in any sort of meaningful way. You can support this project at patreon.com/Echoplex or at eplex.store. Sign up at either place at the $5 a month or higher level, and you get this whole show sent straight to your inbox the day before it comes out, and it also includes the red light portion of the show. Same with Down Ballot, and you also get early access to Used to Be a Spy, and you will have early access also to the video that we're working on about Jacob Wall. So that's all really good stuff. Anyway, I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Blue Sky at Plex-Dave. And this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Donate the cops. When the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Donate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Donate the cops. Donate the cops. Donate the cops. Donate the cops. Like your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong. Donate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job. Donate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Donate the cops. 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 Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, well, we're going to start off with the first news conference that the White House had since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and it went how you probably think it did.
The president said that we're looking into transgender violence. Does that mean the FBI is looking into it? And can you give any more clarity on how the administration is viewing this uptick in specifically transgender violence?
It's definitely something worth looking into, and I think anyone who denies that at this point is being willfully ignorant. And the administration is taking it seriously, all causes of violence, and why these people would be driven to such evil and such hatred. And there's probably many answers to that question, but the administration is really focused on all of them. For individual investigations and cases, of course, the FBI and the Department of Justice are leading those. But as for this overall violence and domestic terrorism that we're seeing, the White House and the president's policy team will be leading the charge, and that really begins with designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. And I can assure you there will be additional actions to come.
Well, great. Well, now I'm a fucking domestic terrorist, I guess. So this is really dumb. They wanted so badly for the shooter in the assassination of Charlie Kirk to have been a trans person. It turns out that they were dating a trans person, I guess. And so I guess this is a sign that the trans people are doing the violence. This is all really stupid. And then like designating Antifa a terrorist organization. It doesn't make any sense because there's no like, you don't get to be a member of it, or it's fucked up because it's just going to apply to whoever it needs to apply to whenever it needs to apply to them, right? Like they're going to just enhance people's charges with terrorism charges for fucking reasons that have nothing to do with membership in any kind of organization. There's more from this press conference. It was great.
Engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears to be a trend, especially after what we saw in the Annunciation Church shooting, Catholic Church shooting. Additionally, Stephen Miller recently commented on the rise in this kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist
movement growing in this country. The president is designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm wondering, what is the approach to holding these people accountable, just to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward?
Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on, because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa, radical people across this country who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only.
So this is great. They subscribe to it like it's a magazine. Like they have no idea how they're going to do this, right? Because there's no way to do this. I think what they're trying to do is trying to go after probably liberal and left-leaning charities. In fact, here's a clip attesting to just that.
And we will also be, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa and who is funding these other violent left-wing groups that we've seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
Thank you. And
who's funding it? Nobody. You can't write them a check. Do they mean the bail funds? I mean, what are they talking about? I'm probably talking about the bail funds, right? Here's J.D. Vance talking about the best way to stop political violence, and that's to stop calling people fascists and Nazis and shit, I suppose.
If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we got to do it.
This is incredibly stupid. The political violence isn't being aimed at ICE so much. We have a story about that later, but this is really dumb, because political violence, if you take out 9/11, going from the 70s to today or whatever, political violence is 70 or 80% right wing just on death count alone. Up next, here's more on
it is incumbent upon Gavin
That's the wrong clip. Fucking wonderful. Oh, here we go. Show's live. Pro producer here, everybody. Here is more on Stop Calling Us Nazis.
It is incumbent upon Gavin Newsom, AOC, Hakeem Jeffries, any of these politicians to tone down the rhetoric. You mentioned Gavin Newsom, his unconstitutional mask banning in California. That legislation was called the No Secret Police Act. Of course, he's likening our law enforcement in that piece of legislation to the Gestapo, to the Nazis. And what did we do in World War II against the Nazis? We fought them and we killed them. And this is the rhetoric that is directly contributing to threats and violence against our law enforcement.
Well, I wonder what she thinks of what we did in World War II. I wonder which side she would have been rooting for during that time. They are the secret police. The secret police literally means police where you can't identify them, and where you might not even 100% be sure that they are fucking law enforcement. Like we've covered a couple times, there were instances where people basically cosplaying as ICE went and assaulted people. Possibly, there's probably more than we know about. There might be somebody right now who's a victim of kidnapping who is somewhere and thought that they were being picked up by ICE. Anyway, Stephen Wolf, whoever that is, thinks all this is a great opportunity. Shout out to Right Wing Watch. Could not do this show without organizations like Right Wing Watch. Probably going to be targeted as Antifa.
I'm really hoping that the right will stay united for as long as it takes. And because we've identified that enemy. We've identified that enemy is the left, and that the left wants to destroy everything that's good, true, and beautiful. It is a deranged movement. It's, as people say, it's filled with people who are disgusting freaks who, through their resentment, want to pretty much recreate their resentment and their own self-hatred in the world. They'd rather live in filth.
Live in filth. This is fashy as fuck.
See their enemies oppressed and suppressed. That is the right, or anything that is true, beautiful. This is a moment where you can communicate to your kind of normie evangelical friends that the left actually is an evil presence. And that we have, through the force of law and through the Constitution, these things can be suppressed. I mean, public universities receive public funding, and so it should be dictated what public. It's not a private university. Private universities, unless they take federal funding, can do whatever they want. But if it's a public university, it ought to support the virtues of that the nation recognizes virtues and not evil. So there's things that by law you ought to suppress. The left dominates the universities. They not only do not educate, they do not teach people what's good, true, and beautiful. They actually inculcate the sort of thinking that would lead to the at the very least the sort of people who would support the murdering of Charlie Kirk. God is a God of justice, and He's ordained powers such that justice would be exacted in would be enacted in society, and more than that, wickedness and unrighteousness would be suppressed. That the civil sword would be a terror to wickedness. Right. That's why God ordained civil power. We have to kind of communicate that we can do that through our own heritage and traditions and constitutional order to suppress what is evil. That's the whole purpose of government. That's the purpose even of our government, even constitutionally. It is to suppress what is evil and to reward what is good. And so I think there's a moment where we can communicate that. And that's not, this is not exploiting a moment. This is just this is clearly exploiting the moment. People are jarred, and there's a call to conscience. There's this where you're taken out, is sort of transcending from the moment, from your immediate concerns, and you begin to reflect on what we've become, where we're at, and what we need to do. And this is where you can say, look, justice, righteousness. We need to be a nation under God. We need to return to what we were at the founding and the century, really a century and a half throughout this country, which was to be a Christian republic. We need to return to that and kind of like restore that the Christian politics that is to suppress evil. So it's a moment that we have that we can really try to communicate that to people.
This is all really stupid. These people, they're like, through the Constitution. It's like the first thing they put in the Constitution was that there's no religious tests, and the Congress can't like basically establish a state religion for the country. They put that first. So I don't, these people don't give a fuck what the Constitution says, right? They just want their way. They just want to get what they want to get, and they want to be in control. But the thing I wonder is, like, for what reason? Right? Like, what do they want the control for? Is it just to oppress people that are different than them? Because it's a lot of work just to oppress people. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, probably because I'm not a fascist. Up next, we got Candace Taylor. Man, she hasn't been on the docket in like a year. She thinks we should be naming a road in every city after Charlie Kirk, which would never, ever get confusing.
We have highways named after people who did really great things. And almost every place in Georgia, because Martin Luther King was from Georgia, has a street or an avenue or a road or highway named after him. And a lot of other places have roads named after him as well. And so I want a Charlie Kirk named highway or road in every county in my district, in the 1st district of Georgia, coastal Georgia. And so I'm going to work on that. And so I encourage you to get a Charlie Kirk highway named in your county. Go to your county commissioners. I'm going to try to get a young adult to help me. so that they can be part of this, because Charlie loved young people so much and he devoted his life to helping educate them and break off liberal brainwashing from them.
Dude, this is they want this. They want so bad for this guy to have been their MLK, but like, oh, this is really dumb. This is all incredibly dumb. So there was a shooting in an ICE facility on the 24th. That was 4 days ago. We don't actually, at this point, I don't think we really know that much about it. What we do know is that the person that was shot and killed was a detainee, not an ICE agent. But this is interesting. I just didn't have time to look into this week, but here's JD Vance almost certainly lying about the shooting at the ICE facility in Texas this week.
Country in the last couple of weeks, and that was true maybe until this morning, because I don't know if you all have followed the news, and we're still learning a little bit about it, but what we know is that in Dallas, Texas, an ICE facility, an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility, was opened fire upon by a violent left-wing extremist, a person who wrote anti-ICE messaging on their bullets, and there's some evidence that we have that's not yet public, but we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our border. And I think that is the most disgusting thing. The very people...
I don't think that's the most disgusting thing. There are more disgusting. It's not great to fucking shoot at people. America fucking, we shoot a lot. We are a very shooty nation. So this is interesting. This is in the wake of the shooting at the ICE facility. Here's Kristi Noem. She wouldn't even say who got shot, basically. Like, what was it? Was this a law enforcement agent? Was it a detainee? Was it a bystander? She wouldn't even tell. She wouldn't even say anything. She wouldn't say who it was, because once you realize that the person who was shot and killed was a detainee, you start to wonder a little bit, like, what was the motivation here?
Tell us this evening about the person who was killed and those who were injured.
Well, Caitlin, I don't think I have any new information for you. The FBI is leading the investigation. We, of course, are partnering with Homeland Security Investigations and the Dallas Police Department, and we're grateful for everybody's work on this case. But we do know that this was an individual who took his own life, and that he, fatally shot one of our victims and then injured two others, and that there was many people, dozens of people in that building that day. So we're working to solve all of the unanswered questions behind this case and to get people answers as soon as possible, but also as we release information to make sure that it's accurate too.
Have you had a chance to be able to get in touch with the families of the person who was killed, the detainee who was killed, or those who were injured?
That hasn't been given to me as information yet.
She's like, I don't think those are people.
The FBI is leading this investigation, but have been involved from within 5 minutes after the shooting occurred, was immediately alerted by our field director there and through our ICE leadership. And we've been engaged all day in making sure that we can get people as much assistance as they need, but also make sure that these law enforcement investigators have the ability to do the type of work that they need to do. So they're currently assessing the building. We know that there was bullet holes all over the building. It wasn't just targeted at one specific area or through a window, that he showered the building with bullets, and was very much focused on hitting anyone that he could inside and making sure that they were victims of his attack.
So this person took their own life. It's really weird, like, to use words like, well, they were focused on shooting anyone who was in. You don't know that shit. I'm not sure. I'm like, this story, it just bugs me, because, like, it's hard to know what's going on. We have the FBI being run by a podcaster. We have this Kristi Noem person out there fucking doing comms and just basically fucking acting the fool. Here she is getting mad at the interviewer and at CNN more broadly for fucking something.
all. And I wish that our media, and I wish reporters like you, Caitlin, would talk about the victims every day that we interact with, that we send you the stories on that you refuse to tell, about the poor little girl and baby that was strangled yesterday by an illegal criminal and died. That baby died overnight. That was the first news I got this morning when I got up at 4 a.m. Then the next news that I got was that the media had reported that a father had his child taken away from him, when in all reality, this poor little autistic girl was abandoned by her father.
But CNN didn't report that, right, Secretary Noem?
But you know what, Caitlin, just if you guys would just tell the truth about what these criminals are and what they've done in their history.
We tell the truth
and make
every
it about
night.
the victim. That'd be fantastic. We send out about 5 or 6 different press releases every day correcting stories, and I'll send you the copies of the ones that you've gotten wrong that we've been able to correct. But these law enforcement officers are being demonized, and they should be supported because they have families too, and they live in these communities. Their kids go to school there. Their spouses go to work, and they just want to go at night and make their community and their city safer.
Secretary Noem, as you know, if we get something wrong, we correct it. But also, what you just referenced there is not something that CNN reported. And obviously, we strive for accuracy every night. Secretary.
God, these people just go on the news and are just airing their grievances. We send you a press release and then you don't read it verbatim on your news program. That's right. The news's job is not to just read press releases from the government. Now, mind you, if there is a press release of import, the news would say this is a press release from the government, so that you know where the information's coming from. What they're doing is they're trying to feed stories to CNN and all these other media outlets to like hype up the fear about immigration, so that people think that the immigrant community is committing all these crimes, when in reality there's no evidence that immigrants, especially people here without papers, commit crimes at a rate higher than anyone else. And there's some evidence pointing the other direction, that people who are here without their papers are less likely to commit crimes for obvious reasons, right? We don't even have to get into why that might be. But here's more of that interview. Here's Kristi Noem talking about how the Democrats support MS-13 and, they have margaritas with them in foreign countries.
I have seen Democrats out there take extreme positions and support radical criminal organizations. Their support of terrorists such as MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, and seeing U.S. senators go and have margaritas with them in a foreign country to support them and their child trafficking and human trafficking exploits, I think is a tragic thing to experience in the United States.
Well, Chris Van Hollen said that was basically a setup by Bukele. But I just think the question is, would you label them a domestic extremist organization, as Stephen Miller did?
I would love to see these Democrats denounce these criminals.
That's the Democratic Party famously never denounces crime. This is all really stupid. What they're saying is that the Democrats are slightly more sympathetic, I suppose, to the plight of people here without their papers than the Republicans are, and they think that's horrible. And they think that the news, in covering these things, because the news tries to cover things like with just the facts, right? Yeah, there's opinion on the news, but there are, a lot of times like they will just give you the facts as we know them. And if the facts as we know them aren't like these immigrants are killing everybody, then the fucking Kristi Noems of the world get real mad. Here's the president of the United States. Guess how much he's going to lower drug prices. He's the ultimate math nerd.
We have more than 3 years left. And I told Bobby and the doctors behind me, and they are so committed to this, I told them that this is the number one thing I want to do from you. And, we have something else called Favored Nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,000%, by 900, 600, 500, 1,200. We're going to be reducing drug prices at levels never seen. It's called Favored Nations.
So if you're to reduce something by 1,200% or whatever, or 1,000%, aren't you? So it's $10. What is it now? Do they give you $100 to take it? What do you mean? This is so stupid. You can't reduce anything by 1,000%. I mean, you can, but then you end up in the negative territory, and that's I don't know. I'd get myself prescribed every drug I possibly could if I was getting paid hundreds of dollars to take the drugs. Here's Donald Trump talking about how we need to investigate George Soros and, of all people, Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman is maybe fucking David Sachs or Elon Musk or somebody not like Reid Hoffman? Like, it's weird that Reid Hoffman would come up here.
Antifa, Soros, what names are we talking about?
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. Somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him.
He's a pretty rich guy, I guess. Fucking, he has no idea who Reid Hoffman is. That's amazing. He's like, I don't know. I just heard that he's rich.
And maybe could be him, could be a lot of people. We hear the same names, but they're bad, and we're going to find out. And if they are funding these things, they're going to have some problems because they're agitators and they're anarchists. These are anarchists.
Famously, tech CEOs are for anarchy. That they don't want to use the power of the government to advantage themselves, but rather want to tear down the system. This one's fun. This one hits a little bit. This one's a little bit down ballady for fans of the Tuesday night stream. One of the large locations that the World Cup is going to be is San Jose, California, and Trump is threatening to move the World Cup games out of the blue cities because of crime. This doesn't work for a couple reasons. One, where the fuck are you going to put the World Cup if not in a city? You can't just put it out in the middle of nowhere, I don't think. The infrastructure isn't there for it. And two, like, I don't know, one of the biggest cities hosting is San Jose, and it's the safest big city in the country. Again, it's always in the top 5 safest big cities in the country, and it is number 1 again. Fuck San Jose, but like, this is dumb.
I think it's not. It's actually a very fair question. If I think it's not safe, we're going to move it out of that city. If, like, the governor of Illinois, who is, look, last week, between last week and the week before, 11 murders, and 38 people were shot. Then he gets up and says, this is a very safe, and then he says crime is better. The reason crime is better is because Cash put, about 5 months ago, a whole team of FBI people there to get ready for when we go in, and they've lowered it a little bit, like 20-25%, which isn't good enough, but it's a good start. But that was only put there because they're preparing for us to go in. And they've done, by the way, they've done a good job. So then Pritzker gets up, we've lowered crime 25. It's because the FBI was there. So, no, if any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit. But I hope that...
You can't do that. Okay, first of all, the FBI doesn't prevent crime, they investigate crime. There's some evidence maybe that investigation and convictions have the aggregate effect of lowering the overall crime rate. Sometimes maybe people think twice. But you send the FBI, like, they sent like a couple extra FBI agents to Chicago, and then like the crime went down a little bit. Or he was saying 20-25%. I don't buy that number. But the FBI didn't do that. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. So, it just doesn't make any sense. They sent a few FBI agents there, and like, what did the people of Chicago be like? Oh, no more criming. There's a few more FBI agents here. That's not really how any of this works. It's fucking stupid. Speaking of fucking stupid, there was a whole thing with Trump going to the UN. We're going to talk about the elevator a little bit, but his speech was kind of meandering and rambling and dumb and mean. And I have a few clips of it for you.
That's what it represents. And it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in New York City. I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down. And by the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's after 12 days.
No, it wasn't. St. Louis, Missouri, most violent crime in the country.
It's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, don't walk down the middle of the street. You get hit by a car.
My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business. And they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails.
So he was mentioning going out to eat. The restaurateurs in Washington, D.C. were not happy when this all started. I haven't heard much about them since because the mainstream news doesn't always do such a great job of following up. But some places in certain neighborhoods maybe where Trump wouldn't go, where he thinks maybe it should be illegal to have a restaurant, they were reporting their that their revenue was down like 70-80% in some cases. I mean, these are just anecdotes or whatever, but I don't think like restaurateurs are a lying group of people. Anyway, here's more of his speech. There's a few more clips.
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
You fucking man, dude. I don't know, man. It's so crazy. You just go there and tell like the leaders of all these other countries that they suck at their jobs and shit, and that their countries are shitholes because of immigration and stuff. And it's just really weird because like this just isn't true. And like the other thing is like the leaders of countries where the asylum seekers are coming from, some are there, and he's telling those people that their countries are just full of criminals or whatever. It's all really bad. Here's more.
The Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means?
No, we don't.
I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country.
That's crazy. I mean, Guantanamo Bay was bad enough, but this is so crazy. I sometimes just forget that that the United States is like renting a prison from El Salvador. And now here he is talking about how the UN, I guess they're doing some improvements, putting up some new buildings for the UN. And he's mad that he's not the one doing the development for the building.
Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go
walls.
in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago.
Oh, if you could imagine the UN didn't want to work with one of the world's most crooked fucking real estate developers. Oh man, he had mentioned the elevator in that clip, so let's talk a little bit about the elevator, or the escalator. He said, "I'm sorry, the escalator." This is not like Elevator Gate, like we covered the other night on the Broligarchy show, but this is Escalator Gate. This is from Maria Bartiromo's show.
happened this week at the UN. I want to get your take on this because President Trump says the Secret Service is investigating what he is calling triple sabotage after his time at the United Nations on Tuesday. The president wants answers after the escalator stopped as soon as he and the First Lady stepped on it. Look how great Melania was. She is unfazed. She walks on it. It stops. She turns around to the president and she just leads the president up and walks. So she was unfazed by it.
Look, such grace. The stairs stopped, so she walked up the stairs.
But this could have been a massive issue. And, you know, the president being frozen there in one place makes him vulnerable. Later the same morning, the teleprompter goes dark in the middle of his speeches. And then, you know, in the middle of his address, rather. And then the president also said that the sound was off during his remarks and only the people with interpreters speaking into earpieces could actually hear his address. The UN reports that they ordered a thorough investigation and are, quote, ready to cooperate in full transparency with relevant U.S. authorities. Congressman, do you know if we're going to get answers on this?
I surely hope so. And if the Secret Service has opened up an investigation and the UN's doing an investigation, obviously all of those things could not be a coincidence. And thankfully,
it could be a coincidence. If anybody's ever if anybody's ever worked in a building, like in a big building, yeah, there might be multiple things wrong with the building. I worked at a big building, and there was some problem with the escalator and an elevator one day, and so it was a conspiracy, obviously. Melania, such grace, the escalator stopped, and so she just walked up the stairs. Such grace, such a graceful way to handle it. You know, just like fucking anybody would. Here's Jesse Waters. He has some ideas of what to do about the fucking escalator at the UN. This might be the wildest thing we're gonna fucking play this week.
What's going on with the escalator? What do you think?
Yeah, they sabotaged them.
Yeah.
And they could have hurt the First Lady.
Yeah.
Trump would have fallen and he would have gotten back up. But, you know.
They could have hurt the... No, the escalator just stopped. They could have hurt the First Lady. Does he mean that, like, he would have fallen on her? Because, I mean, yeah, maybe. He a big boy.
Rhetoric.
And then they sabotaged the teleprompter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an insurrection. And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. It is in New York, though, right?
Yeah,
there could be some fallout there.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe gas it?
No.
Let's not do that.
Don't gas it. Okay. But we need to destroy it. Maybe just, can we demolish the building?
We could turn it into...
Have everybody leave and then we'll demolish the building?
We could turn it into affordable housing.
Okay.
That's what you do, affordable housing.
No, I don't like that. I like nice sky rises.
Jesse Waters is like, I don't know. I live near the UN. What are you talking about? I don't want no poor people there.
You know, the expensive condominiums.
I'm trying to win an election
you see the East
here.
River from there. No, this is absolutely unacceptable, and I hope they get to the bottom of it, and I hope they really injure emotionally the people that did it.
Could you imagine? Think of like just Barack Obama if the elevator fucking stopped when him and Michelle were on it. He'd be like, he'd laugh, right? He'd probably laugh, and then he'd just walk up the elevator and he'd be like, I don't know. Sometimes things break. Oh man, he had to walk up the stairs. So here's Sean Hannity's mad at Gavin Newsom for tweeting too much. Fucking interesting.
It's not real. It's not authentic. You're not Trump. So tonight, here is my message to the part-time governor, full-time Tweety Bird, full-time podcaster who pretends to run the state of California. Gavin, we were old friends. Maybe it's time to stop tweeting, stop podcasting, start governing your state. Now, you can attack me all you want, and I will gladly respond. No, it's just...
He's like, you're not Trump. It's not authentic. It's like, no shit. I mean, I don't like Gavin Newsom, but like, it's obvious that it's not authentic. He's making the things that his staff, they're making fun of Donald Trump. Of course it's not authentic. And Gavin made some mistakes on that podcast, having glad handing with fascists and shit. Here's Kristi Noem. She's also not happy with Gavin Newsom.
First, your reaction to bad day for you.
Well, it was cryptic, and it was really menacing. I would say, Sean, it immediately panicked my family and friends. Within, I would say, a couple of minutes of that being posted, I started to get text messages and phone calls, family, my kids saying, "Are you okay, Mom? Are you fine?" They know the threats that I've had. They know the threats that they've had, the things that have happened to them because of politicians like this that say things and somebody grabs onto them that has an agenda, the cartels and criminals that have threatened our family already. So when you get a post like that by a governor, immediately, my staff and family think, what is going on? What does he mean? And we're trying to figure it out. So, this is a day and age where we've always known that words matter, but there's been real consequences that we have realized that have happened to incredible people like Charlie that we'll have to live with forever. And I hope we all learn from that. I hope we all learn that it's time to start listening to each other, having civil discourse, and stop ridiculous, irresponsible posts like Governor Newsom put out.
Listening to these people say this when he's clearly emulating their god, their daddy, is amazing. She was like, it was cryptic. Yeah, there was this nonsensical tweet that probably gave her a dumb nickname, and fucking that's it. That's it. So we're doing some climate denial. Did you know that climate change isn't real because more people freeze to death than die from extreme heat? I didn't know that, but we're going to learn that now. Here's the Energy Secretary of the United States of America.
Well, the EPA is working on a rule, and they've got a decision will come out, and if they decide to remove the endangerment finding, which I personally believe the data overwhelmingly supports, get rid of the endangerment finding. Talking about extreme weather, deaths from extreme weather on a 100-year plunge. It's never been a safer time to be alive from extreme weather. So then it'll be challenged in the courts.
Cold's a lot worse than hot, too, for what kills people.
5 times more people die from the cold than die from the heat.
Well, it's causing that, too. The global warming causes the coldness. But go
everything in weather is climate change.
Hot, dry, warm, wet year.
But yeah, it'll be litigated, of course. But that's exactly what we want, is discussing these energy climate trade-offs in a public setting. But yes, it enabled the Clean Power Plan, which started the rise in electricity prices that has everyone angry today.
Meanwhile,
well, yeah, more people freeze to death, I suppose, than get scorched to death by the sun. And the guy was trying to make fun of it, but climate change is going to does cause more extreme cold and more extreme heat. It's basically like it's more extremes, and it's so crazy. It's so crazy the way these people talk about this. I wish they would just say what they fucking mean, which is they want their rich buddies to get richer. And they don't really care if that means destroying the planet for the next generation or the current one. Trump is going to win the Climate Hero Award.
The funny thing is, I predict in a few years, President Trump will win the Climate Hero Award because his policies, which is pro-natural gas and pro-nuclear, those are the only 2 needle movers we have today to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. He's not doing it for that reason. You're right. That's nowhere near our biggest issue.
Let's get the plastic out of the ocean. Leave the CO2.
It's a longer conversation.
Well, let's get the plastic out of the ocean. What the fuck, dude? These people this is amazing. It's that bullshit about microplastics. This is Holman, the guy that took the bribe. He took like a fucking bag with $50,000 in it from a fucking undercover cop or an undercover FBI agent, but he did nothing wrong.
Give you a chance to address this article that came out over the weekend. And it was on our always reliable MSNBC, and they said that you took $50,000 in cash in a bag from an undercover FBI agent to help them win government contracts in Trump's second term. The DOJ said they concluded there was no criminal wrongdoing, but nevertheless, that story is out there, and I imagine you want to respond to that.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I did nothing criminal. I did nothing illegal. And it's hit piece after hit piece after hit piece. And I'm glad the FBI and DOJ came out and said, said that nothing illegal happened and nothing, no criminal activity. You're talking about a guy spent 34 years enforcing the law. I mean, I left a very successful business.
Yes, famously, the police themselves are never corrupt.
Ran to come back and work for a government again. I'm back on a government paycheck. Not only did I sacrifice my family sacrifices, I make sacrifices every day. I got more death threats than anybody. I got a security team around me, but guess what? My kids don't. My wife don't. I mean, I haven't lived with my wife in months because I don't want her to be here right now with all this.
I'm not. I have an alternate hypothesis for why you and your wife are no longer living together, but it's just a guess.
Threats. So after all the sacrifices, after serving my nation for all these years, they want to come out and dirty me up. And it's not going to end. There's a hit piece on me every 2 weeks. But keep coming, because you know what? Tom Homan isn't going anywhere. Tom Homan isn't shutting up. And Tom Homan's going to keep doing what he's doing, because working with President Trump's the greatest honor of my life. We're making this country safer again every day, and we're going to keep doing
it. Oh, man. I wonder what, like, if he thinks people believe him. Like, what do you, I don't know. I mean, some people must believe him, right? Because people fucking are inclined to believe him because of Trump. But yeah, of course the DOJ is going to say that the under the previous administration that a guy who took a bribe from somebody didn't actually take a bribe if he's like a member of the administration. That's of course what they're going to do. I feel like it sucks, but now we kind of can't trust the Department of Justice. Here's Rachel Maddow had Kamala Harris on. We're not going to run the whole thing, obviously. We're going to run her intro to it and then a short clip of the interview.
The shortest presidential campaign in modern history. She describes in the book on page 1 how she learned from President Biden that he would end his campaign and hand the reins to her. She learned that news less than half an hour before the whole rest of the world learned it as well. She writes about how everybody in Democratic politics responded when she made all her first phone calls to tell everybody the news, to ask them for their support. She took notes from those calls and she prints the notes in her book, page 17. Bill Clinton says, "Oh my God, I'm so relieved. Send me anywhere. Make this your own campaign." Hillary Clinton, "We'll do whatever we can. We'll jump on a plane. We'll get on Amtrak." Jim Clyburn says, "Let's go. I'm all in." Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina, says, "Before you say anything, I'm all in." Pete Buttigieg says, "You are going to be a fantastic president." Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, Vice President Harris writes, quote, "He tweeted his endorsement even before I reached him." So far, so good, right? But not all the calls went like that. And this is the kind of campaign book you might diplomatically call candid, which means it is not all nice. And so we also get Vice President Harris's notes on the other responses she got. Gretchen Whitmer, "I believe you will win, but I need to let the dust settle. Talk to my colleagues before I make a public statement." President Obama says in part, quote, "Michelle and I are supportive, but not going to put a finger on the scale right now. Let Joe have his moment. Think through timing." Nancy Pelosi says in part, "It's important that there's a process. We have a great bench. We should have some kind of primary, not an anointment."
Whoa, Nancy Pelosi with the rare W. Yes, it would have been messy, but yes.
Bernie Sanders says in part, quote, "Please focus on the working class, not just on abortion."
Yeah, Bernie.
J.B. Pritzker says, "As governor of Illinois, I'm the convention host. I can't commit." And then Gavin Newsom, she writes, "Hiking, we'll call back." And then she puts in parentheses, "He never did."
Oh, she's mad. Oh, she's spilling the tea. Here's a bit of that interview. If I'm not mistaken, this is her first like major interview since the election. I'm not sure though. I don't keep up on this stuff that much. The media wench would probably know better than me if she were here. Anyway, here's 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that interview.
The part of your book that has people most upset thus far, which is some of your writing about the decision around the president abandoning his reelection campaign, the timing there and how it was handled. You say in part, page 46, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Whose decision should that have been? How should that decision have been made?
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, the where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
If you said to President Biden that you did not think he should run again.
Yeah, or even that he should question whether it's a good idea. But
I don't think it would have been self-serving, because in a proper primary, I don't think a lot of people thought Kamala Harris would have won.
You know, one of the reasons I wrote this book, Rachel, is there are actually a number of reasons. One is that it is unprecedented, right? To your point of what you said in your opening, we had a president of the United States running for re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century.
Do you think that Democrats should vote to allow the government to shut down in order to try to extract concessions from Trump on these matters?
It won't be the Democrats who are shutting it down. It'll be the Republicans. The Democrats are doing the job that any elected leader should do, which is to say, we're not going to do the bidding of the president of the United States at the sacrifice of our constituents' health care. Negotiate.
So it's interesting to hear her take a little bit of responsibility for not sitting down with the president as his colleague and probably ostensibly his closest advisor. That's not always the way the vice president and president's relationship is, but she's the second most powerful elected politician possibly in the world, certainly second most powerful in the country. And she says, you know, I should have said something. She's like, I dropped the ball. And that's good because, you know, I assumed that she was going to go around blaming everybody else and blaming circumstance, which wouldn't, by the way, blaming the circumstance would be fine. 107 days to run an election. Get the fuck out of here. The United States, nah. Other countries, sure, like they do it in 6 weeks in Great Britain, but the whole system there is different. So I guess good on her for taking some measure of responsibility for it. But I don't know what she should have done, because she said, oh, people would have thought it was self-serving, but I don't think anybody thought she would have won a regular primary. I don't think she would have won. I don't know who would have run, but it wouldn't have been her, right? I think Gavin would have jumped in if Gavin Newsom would have jumped in, and unfortunately he probably would have won. And then fucking people don't like this, but he probably could have beat Trump. But he wouldn't have been able to beat Trump with 107 days either. Like, I don't know. Like, this was stupid. This was the most fucked up, stupid thing. Once they decided to go with Biden, they had to just go with him. This switching 107 days before the election was insanity. The other thing, though, is that before he became president in 2000, Biden said what he was saying is, I'm the only person I believe with the political machine to beat Donald Trump, and I'm only going to do one term, and I'm not going to run for re-election. And then he fucking decided he was going to run for re-election after he said he wasn't. I think he even said that it was time for like younger people to like take the lead in the Democratic Party and shit. He could have done that, and man, you know what kind of fucking hero the Democratic Party that motherfucker would have been if he'd have done if he'd have beat Trump, did the one term, and then like endorsed like a younger candidate. And even if it was like fucking Mayor Pete or somebody, like, you know, somebody we don't necessarily like that much, he would have been, even if that candidate would have lost, Joe Biden would have been seen as like a man who displayed humility and didn't let his ego get the best of him. Anyway, this was great. This is I don't know where this is. 6th Street, Wilshire Boulevard. I don't know where this is. Anyway, check this out. This was this was broadcast onto the side of a building.
I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Oh, I always feel like somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a trick?
I think whoever put the tweet up added the music. Fucking the copyright police are coming after me on YouTube now, right? I guess that was our palate cleanser this week. So now we're going to move on to there was a press conference about autism this week, and it wasn't great. Here is Carolyn Levitt before the press conference talking about how people want some answers, and people didn't get answers, by the way, as you'll see in a few minutes here.
On the autism issue again, there are reams of scientific research that suggests there's no clear link between autism and acetaminophen usage. You're suggesting today they may have new information on this. A lot of it, in this entire debate, has the potential to confuse women, especially pregnant women, about what to do. What do you say to those that say what you're doing today potentially just introduces more confusion into the debate?
I think women for many years, in fact for decades, Ed, have been confused by the rapid increase in autism in this country. In the childhood epidemic, that is chronic epidemic, disease epidemic that is plaguing America's youth. Women are confused about that, and they want answers to that. And that's exactly what this administration is focused on finding. And before you jump to conclusions based on reports that the White House has not even confirmed, I would encourage everyone in this room to go into the 4 o'clock announcement with some critical thinking skills and with some open ears to actually listen to what the president and his team of outsiders have to say about this. And there will be
his team of outsiders. That's not great for medical advice. Like, sometimes you need insiders, people with a lot of experience. And speaking of that press conference, here's some of that press conference. We're not going to run a lot of it. Feel free to watch it. Apparently, when you mention that Tylenol causes autism, or acetaminophen causes autism, you get attacked.
Why do you think we haven't heard more previously about the tie to autism and acetaminophen?
Nobody knows. I don't know. Not only that, when you say it, you get attacked. I was saying something similar, not as strongly, because now facts are on our side. But I was saying it with Bobby 20 years ago, and I was attacked. I said, whoa, what was that all about? I had no idea. You get attacked. I don't know. The medical community, the drug companies, doctors. I don't know what it is.
It's because what you're saying is fucking stupid and not based on any kind of facts or evidence. And yeah, people are going to criticize your dumbass when you say dumbass things. Here we go. Here's more. This is about Cuba and Tylenol. Oh, this is amazing. This is fantastic. I don't know if you knew this, but well, you'll see in a second here.
This country is going through what parts of the world are going through, and I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism. Okay, tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot.
No. Okay. First of all, I wonder, wonder if he went to see if they have Tylenol because, there's trade embargoes or whatever. They don't have the brand Tylenol, right? They certainly have acetaminophen. They certainly have acetaminophen in Cuba. He also said they don't have autism right there under the tweet that this video was from. It looks like Cuba, the autism rate is in line with basically the whole ass rest of the world. Just right there in line with every other country in the world. So he's just wrong. Did you know that the Amish don't get vaccinated or get autism either? I didn't know this before. But apparently that's the case.
community, if I can, just for a second. I recently saw a man from Minnesota, an Amish man from Minnesota, on a podcast, and the host asked him what the rates were for like ADHD and autism, and he had no idea about ADHD, didn't know that it existed, and certainly didn't know of any cases. What are they doing?
It doesn't exist with the Amish community, and they don't take all of this junk. It doesn't exist. That tells you, doesn't that tell you? That's like, that's like certain countries where it doesn't exist and they don't take it. Would you like to make a comment?
So this is not true that the Amish are all anti-vaxxers, and the evidence is that among the Amish, the rate of autism is similar to the rate of everyone else. It's just they're more, you don't see a lot of, you personally, anybody out there, you're not going to see a lot of Amish with autism, because guess what? In our day-to-day lives, we just don't run into a lot of Amish, most of us. So I don't know the last time you ran into an Amish person. I live here in Oakland, California. I ain't gonna run into fucking Amish people here. So I guess I've never met an Amish person with autism. Fucking checkmate, doctors. Massive vaccines like you'd give a horse. Now that's the problem. I don't think that a vaccine that you'd give a horse would necessarily be bigger than one that you'd give a human, but whatever.
Some announcement tomorrow. Multiple news outlets are reporting that you plan to tie Tylenol to increased risk of autism. Can you confirm that?
We're going to see tomorrow. We're going to do it tomorrow, but I think it's a very big factor. I think you'll see what it is tomorrow. We have various things, but you'll see what it is tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very important news conference. And we want things to take effect immediately. If there's a question, even if there's a question, you just do it, right? But
No. Wait, if there's a question about something, you endeavor to answer the question.
Research has been done. When you think that, let's say 15 years ago, they had 1 in 10,000 were born with autism. And now it's, think of it, 1 in 12, 1 in 10. Boys, 1 in 10 or 12. 2 different studies. Girls, it's 1 in 20. Can you imagine 1 in 20? And let's see, 22 years ago, it was 1 in 20,000. But it got down to 1 in 10,000 about 17 years ago. And now it's 1 in 12. Actually, boys are 1 in 12 and 1 in 10. I mean, can you imagine 1 in 10? And it was 1 in 20,000. So there's obviously something artificial that's really wrong. And we think we know what that is.
Are you planning to announce any link between vaccines and autism?
Tomorrow. Vaccines are very interesting. They can be great. But when you put the wrong stuff in them, and children get these massive vaccines like you'd give to a horse. And I've said for a long time, this is no secret, spread them out over 5 years. Get 5 shots, small ones. And you ever see what they give? They give, for a little baby to be injected with that much fluid, even beyond the actual ingredients. They have sometimes 80 different vaccines in them. It's crazy. It's that's a common sense thing too. It's like you're shooting up a horse. You have a little body, a little baby, and you're pumping this big thing. It's a horrible thing. So I've always felt that. But we'll be having a big discussion tomorrow about autism.
Your son had a very welcoming.
So obviously, I don't have to tell the people that listen to this show, right? But I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of this is just diagnosis, right? Like there were several different. I might get this wrong here, but I think instead of certain people would be diagnosed with what they were calling Asperger's, and then that wasn't included in the autism numbers. But now the more accurate, more modern way to talk about this is autism spectrum disorder. And so it's not only are we diagnosing more people more accurately, but the tent essentially got bigger as to what falls under this diagnosis category. I mean, before, parents might just call their kid the R slur, or my kid's slow, my kid's, they would use other like terminology and maybe not get diagnosed. Some of it was ignorance, not like malicious ignorance, and some of it was bigotry. And so, some of that stuff is better, not all of it. And this is only going to make it worse. Here's Here's more from that press conference. This is about the horse shots.
It's inconvenient. Oh, you got to have to go back another year later. You're going to go back each year for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. Just break it up. Break it up. Because it's too much liquid. Too many different things are going into that baby at too big a number. The size of this thing, when you look at it, it's like 80 different vaccines and beyond vaccines, and 80. Then you give that to a little kid. I mean, I could.
Oh, this is so stupid. You remember those memes that would go around, like the pin cushion? They would show a baby with all the little doll with all these needles in them. Well, it's 80 inoculations, but a lot of them they inoculate for multiple things in one shot. So they're not taking 80 shots. And if to the extent that there are multiple shots, they're not all given on the same day. They already are spaced out. Probably not for any like reason of safety or maybe even not of efficacy, just because like the vaccines are stabby and you don't want to piss the baby off. Here's our president. He is an expert on hepatitis B. I don't know if you didn't know that you knew that, if you knew that, but he is in fact the leading expert on Hep B.
And hepatitis B is sexually transmitted.
It can also be transmitted the childbirth, nursing.
Reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country.
So there's two things here. One, there might be something about the Hep B vaccine where it is more effective if it's given to a younger person, but also like as people age, right, the uptake of vaccines just falls off as your kids age. It's just for a variety of factors. It's inconvenient. Like maybe you don't have the money to take your kid for like yearly or every 6 months checkups at the doctor, where the doctor would remind you about the vaccines that might be supposed to be given later in age, all that kind of stuff. Like that's like why, that's probably part of why this is given at a young age. It's just so that they they get it. And also, again, it can be transmitted from the mother to the baby. And here's this press conference wrapping. Oh, this is great. This is how you want all your press conferences to end.
The research, a lot of what they've been speaking about comes from right here, by research done by these people. And I just say it again, don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. And don't give it to your child after your child is born. And do all those other things, little things, just spread out your visits, et cetera, on the vaccine. And I want to thank everybody. This is a very important day. Thank you very much.
Don't take Tylenol. Goodbye. Acetaminophen is safe, and it's a very mild pain reliever. It's not good to take all the time because of potential liver problems in the future, but for occasional aches and pains, it's a wonder drug. It doesn't feel like you're on painkillers, nothing. You may even forget that you took it. RFK Jr. is working hard to restore credibility to the fucking Centers for Disease Control. At least that's what we're going to hear. Obviously, we feel differently, but this is Stephen Miller, of course.
And we are working hard. And more importantly, Secretary Kennedy, one of the world's foremost voices, advocates, and experts on public health.
No, he's a podcaster.
Is working hard to restore the credibility and the integrity of CDC as a scientific organization committed to the scientific method and getting to the root causes of the public health epidemic in this country.
The other thing is they're basically referring to autism as like a public health epidemic, and that's like dehumanizing language about people with autism. This next one, I was stunned. I didn't believe it. I thought maybe it was fake. Does anybody remember during the height of QAnon? We were watching maybe some Christopher Key videos, had a lot of med beds. It was med beds. They were talking about med beds. Does anybody remember this? some people were claiming that a med bed was actually what was keeping JFK Jr. alive. So that sounds fun. Apparently the president is talking about med beds.
Breaking now. President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare system, the launch of America's first MedBed hospitals and a national MedBed card for every citizen.
Every American will soon receive their own MedBed card. With it, you'll have guaranteed access to our new hospitals led by the top doctors in the nation, equipped with the most advanced technology in the world. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. This is the beginning of a new era in American healthcare.
In this first phase, only a limited number of MedBed cards will be released. Registration details will be announced very soon. Breaking now. President Donald...
Oh, hell fucking no. First of all, a MedBed card? What the fuck is that? Like, even if this was like a real thing, well, the president, he said, okay, let's set aside the med beds. Let's set aside the fucking pilled med bed thing. Like, why? I thought he was against government healthcare. I thought all these people were against government healthcare. Luckily for them, I guess this isn't really healthcare that's being proposed here, because this is a magic bed, essentially, right? They're not going to provide anybody with anything useful. It's basically, here, look, we have magic beds. Ask Christopher Key. Oh my God. So if you didn't hear this, TikTok is being bought by a consortium of Silicon Valley ghouls, including the founder of, or the CEO, I don't know if he's the founder of Oracle, Larry Ellison. And there's a lot of Middle Eastern money floating around in this deal too. So this seems great. Seems like a great idea.
On TikTok, the deal, how much is the deal? And if you can't give an exact number to how much the deal is, when can we expect to learn how much the deal is being valued at? And then separately, who are the members involved in the deal? Like, can you share any more details there? So I don't have a specific number for you, nor am I going to confirm the specific individuals and entities in the deal, Kayla, but I do have several details I'm happy to run through for all of you. And the president...
Entities includes, like, well, I forget the name of it. It's a big VC firm out of Abu Dhabi. That's one of the entities.
The deal, the official deal, later this week at some point. Under the terms of this deal, TikTok will be owned by a majority of American investors and controlled by a board of directors with extensive national security and cybersecurity credentials. In partnership with the U.S. government, Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security provider, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on TikTok's platform. Americans' data will be stored securely in the United States without access from China. All U.S. user data will be stored on servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance or interference by foreign adversaries. And the algorithm, I know this is a question many of you have had, will be secured, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control. And TikTok will remain globally interoperable, meaning TikTok users in the U.S. will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries and vice versa. While I don't have a number on the specific deal, we do expect that thanks to the president's leadership and the securement of this historic deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over the next 4 years. So this is great news, not just for the millions of American youth who use TikTok. Their data will be safe and secure with this new deal. They'll continue to use this very fun app, but it's also great news for all of the small business owners who have really been able to make a living off of the use of TikTok as well.
This is not great. This is not great. They're going to ruin this thing, right? Like, nobody's going to like it anymore. And I have a clip here of what I think might be one of the ways that it gets ruined. The president seems to have some thoughts on maybe what should be on there, if you could imagine that.
Mr. President, now that Americans will have operational control, do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content prioritized?
I always like MAGA-related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA-related. It's actually a good question, but I would, yeah, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately. No, everyone's going to be treated fairly. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly. Thank you.
I'm surprised he added that part at the end because I just thought he wouldn't. But yeah, he thinks everybody's going to be treated fairly or whatever. This is stupid. This is dumb. Did you know that the tariffs that were all the rage that Trump said was going to fix the economy? Well, it seems to be fucking over a lot of farmers, a lot of farmers, if you could imagine that. So here, of all people, here's fucking Dr. Ben Carson and somebody else talking about this, agriculture secretary.
That alongside, of course, the president's effort to realign America around American products and making all of these new deals, we are at a point where we're looking at the harvest, where we're looking at our soybean, corn, wheat, sorghum, cotton farmers who are facing very, very difficult times. We are currently in conversations here at the White House, across the government on a farmer aid package. In our current programming right now, we've got about $13 billion moving out under ECAP, which is our old farmer payment system based on losses from last year and the year before. So this would be in addition to that, in partnership with our colleagues on the Hill. We should have an announcement very soon, perhaps in the next couple of weeks.
One last. Oh, that's great. First of all, I love that she put Ben Carson there. She's like, I don't know, I want to look smart. So what I'll do is put a very dumb person next to me, which is a good move generally. But I love this. They're like, oh, we created this problem for farmers who export because we have made economic enemies out of the countries that buy our export, things that the farmers export. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix this by just giving them money, which seems, I mean, okay, it's taking responsibility in some way, I suppose, but that's, we didn't have to do all this. None of this had to be done. So we got two more, actually. It's pretty interesting that we're not going like 2.5 hours this evening on the main show. This looks like Homeland Security or ICE is just like harassing Canadians who are driving in America. Never come to the U.S. again. Why? I mean, fucking, I agree. If you live in another country, don't come to my country until we sort some of our shit out. Absolutely. But like, why would you do that? Did he pull them over or was he just mad because they had an Ontario plate? Like a lot of people live in Canada and work in the United States right there along the border. Maybe the family lives there. There's any number of reasons, but that's fucked up. And we got one more. Thanks to Kikyo. I didn't have time actually to take a closer look into this, but we might during public comment, like after down ballot, take a little bit of a closer look. The Oklahoma school policy is getting crazier, and the temperature is sort of getting turned up in Oklahoma on this Ryan Walters guy.
Bibles approved by State Superintendent Ryan Walters for Oklahoma classrooms are back under the microscope. Some teachers who've just received them are pointing out what's not included. I got to see one of those Bibles for myself.
Oklahoma teachers are now getting a closer look at the God Bless the USA Bible placed in their classrooms. And some are surprised by...
Wait a minute, if you're religious, is that not fucking... That's blasphemy, right? Like if you're like a deeply religious person, sticking God Bless the USA on the fucking Bible is like you're not supposed to do that shit.
Previously, Superintendent Ryan Walters said including the Constitution was an important part of buying this Bible, as well as its religious teachings.
We've been clear in our guidance and in the standards that the Bible would be used in its historical context.
Now, one social studies teacher is going viral on social media, pointing out what others might not have known. This version includes the Constitution in the back, but leaves out amendments 11 through 27, like the 13th Amendment, which abolishes slavery, the 19th Amendment allowing women to vote, the 22nd Amendment limiting a president to 2 terms in office, and the 26th Amendment lowering the voting age to 18.
I thought they were going to say that they fucking line item vetoed the First Amendment to get rid of the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. I swear to you, I thought that's what we were going to be looking at. This is bad enough. A lot of people, I've talked to people, not often. I've had somebody tell me that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional when they were fucking mad at me about some shit on Facebook or something. We were talking about gay marriage or something. And it was very interesting to see that, like, they don't even know what the fuck the Constitution is. They think the Constitution is like the first 10 amendments, essentially. They think it's the Bill of Rights, I think. But or they maybe haven't thought it through, or maybe they just were used to calling everything they don't like unconstitutional. Anyway, more on Oklahoma later. Our good friend and almost every night viewer, who I expect to see probably this evening during Red Light, Kikyo, was telling me some stuff about what's going on in Oklahoma, and I think that Ryan Walters guy's in some trouble or something. But I didn't have enough time to take a look into it. Maybe we'll take a look during Red Light. I don't know. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in to the podcast portion of the show. It was only an hour and a half today. That's pretty close to the hour that we generally try to do with this podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, like on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iHeart or whatever, check us out live sometime. We're live most nights at twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Shows start either at 7, 8, or 9 Pacific. You can find our schedule on our website or our Twitch page. And with that, I'm going to change the color of the lights in here, change the content of my beverage, and we're going to go on into Red Light. If you're watching live, just stick around. I know you have to sit through this song Boomers, but I figure you'll manage. It'll be fine. We'll be back in a few minutes.